Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Marcus Aurelius, and this is Dominions 4, The Thrones of Ascension, Death March of the Penguins. And this is, of course, the Epilogue episode, because if you have been following, you'll know that I won the game by claiming the last throne in the previous turn. So wow, this series took 35 episodes, which is pretty standard, I'd say, for me. Some have been longer, some have been shorter. The first thing I'd like to do is I'd like to thank Pymous. I eagerly await his next installment. He brings a level of creativity and insanity, I guess I'd say, to the Dominions world that is really refreshing and really entertaining. I mean, who would have thought blood-covered penguins charging across the ice fields on polar bears with mammoths backing them up? The whole thing is just fanciful and amazing. My only fear is that Pymous will burn out before the rest of his huge in scope project comes to fruition. So I hope that he is able to complete it either through the medium of Dominions 4 or in some other medium, but I really do hope that Project Omniomicon will come to fruition someday. I did want to interview Pymous like I did with Burnsaber in the Byzantine Pythium campaign, but he didn't feel comfortable doing it. He didn't feel like his English was up to snuff, but I do appreciate his participation both in the comments of my videos and also in the forums. So thank you, Pymous, for that. I'd also like to thank Z Nelson, Eternal Reading, Eldest Wolf, and everyone else who has presented your characters in the channel, personalizing them with journal entries and little vignettes. Yaknotathon with the poems. I know there are others of you out there who did a couple, and I'm thanking you as well. I really would like to find a way to encourage more of this behavior in future LPs because it really makes it for me. As many of you know, I don't monetize. I don't get paid to do this. The reason I do it is because I really enjoy the level of community that we have and the participation that people put into these campaigns, following along with them, playing out their characters. It's just a lot of fun for me, and that's why I keep doing it. It's certainly not because I'm an expert gamer who is showing my greatness to the world. I also want to thank everyone who participated simply by having a penguin named after them or a name of their choice. Especially those of you who did it for the first time. The fresh meat. I hope you all will continue to do so in the future, and I look forward to that. Overall, I feel that the Ledan are a flexible nation. They have a little bit of everything. They have 3 holy, they have good mages, they have blood, they have interesting pretender chassis, they have national summons. Oh, and they have a lot of sacred troops as well. I don't, however, feel that they are overpowered. Now, I think there's a difference between having a lot of stuff and a lot of angles to explore and being overpowered. I think that were I to say play this nation against another player in multiplayer, let alone a player who is more experienced than I am in the game, I would probably be beaten handily. But that will be yet to be seen in the multiplayer scene once this nation gets out there and more people play it, and then we'll determine whether or not it is overpowered or not. One thing I will say is I did not appreciate, frankly I got a little annoyed by some of the people in the forums who were criticizing Pymous for what they perceived to be the blandness of this nation, or the lack of it fitting into the mold of Dominions. And when I say that, what I mean is how the nations of Dominions, the vanilla nations, are based on real-world history and mythology, which is what makes it great, certainly. But Pymous is creating his own world. He's creating his own mythology. based on his ideas. So I don't see the need for it to match anything that exists in the real world. And frankly, I don't hear anyone complaining about the Warhammer nations, the mod nations based on the Warhammer universe, and how they don't fit into the Dominion's lore. So it just didn't sit right with me. But anyway, for those of you who wish to play this mod, it is of course available right now. But Pymous and Globu are actually working very hard right now on putting out a gold version that's going to be complete, and it's going to have a bit more spells, a little bit cleaned up, some balance that they have felt is necessary by watching these videos and listening to feedback in the forums. I would like to encourage those of you with brilliant minds, those of you strategic geniuses who throughout my time playing this nation have posted strategic advice in the channel, to utilize your knowledge for the benefit of the community, specifically by making nation guides. And I'm referring to Dr. Quacksalver, Chris Lighthawk, and the rest of you who are utilizing your extensive knowledge of the spells and the summons and what works well in what instance and how certain mechanics work. One thing that I've noticed is the amount of material available strategically for Dominions 4 is very paltry in comparison to what was built up for Dominions 3. And I know a lot of Dominions 3 stuff still applies. I still use it in my planning. But I do think a lot of that stuff could use a bit of an upgrade. And I know there are those of you out there that have the knowledge. And so if you could see to use that knowledge to benefit the community as a whole, I think that would be fantastic. Especially for mod nations. There's a lot of good mod nations out there and not a lot of good writing on them and how to do well with them. Now, I'm not referring to you must do this in this order, on turn 1 recruit this, on turn 2 recruit this. I mean more like kind of thought experiments, like, well, if you take this nation, here's a path you could explore, or here's a path you could explore. Like, for example, the person who first came up with the whole Bloodstone angle for M.A. Ulm, and how to get that going by getting a pretender who has blood magic, or using scouts. That was really interesting, and I had already played M.A. Ulm, Middle Age Ulm, quite a bit before that, and I saw that and I thought, and it really opened up my enjoyment of the game. So, I know there's a lot of you guys out there that are just really amazing and really creative, and I would just love to see that go toward benefiting the community. So, thank you all for adventuring with me throughout another Let's Play. My name may be the one on top of the channel, but I consider this to be a collaborative experience, and I place a lot of stock in our nascent community. I wouldn't be nothing without you guys, and I just really appreciate all that you have given me in return for me putting up these videos. So I hope that you enjoyed this presentation of Ledan, Death March of the Penguins. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.